We are now bringing another wonderful person to the stage, Tom Figler. He is a district at large, and he's going to talk a little bit about the community center, which is another sore topic. And as we mentioned, there are so many moving parts, right? I think what Rhonda just like dropped in our laps is like, we got to reevaluate it all, right? But there are still other pieces that we need to talk about. And so let's not like lose our steam. We still want to hear about this. So thank you so much, Tom.
How's everyone doing? So this is my first term on the council. This is going to be my second budget. Last year's budget was my first. Before I guess I go into the community center, I just want to say thank you to Rhonda. That was a great presentation. Um, and also kind of want to piggyback off the need of financial statements. Before this current administration, before this current mayor, the previous mayor, the need for cash flow statements is so important because there was a point when the previous mayor was in office that they needed to do an emergency cash transfer for payroll. So when we're asking for financial statements, and Rhonda has been asking ever since she got on the council, um, they're needed for obvious reasons, and it is really disheartening that we can't get the financial statements. But so thank you so much, Rhonda. And you are a tough act to follow, I'll say with that. um, all right, so the community center. Community center is a big topic. It's being, we're using ARPA funds to build this community center. So it's not essentially gonna touch this year's budget, obviously, or even next year's budget. But down the road, if this community center does indeed get built, and is constructed, it's going to touch the following, every other year's budget because there are no more, as Abdul was stating, all the one-time revenues, for ARPA, for COVID, emergency relief funds, those are all running out. So it's great that she wants to build this community center, but in future years, it's going to be on the backs of the taxpayers. It's going, you have to think of upkeep for the building. You have to keep up, you have to think of electricity, heat, programs that we're going to be running in that building, staff for that building, security for that building, and considering the land that it's built on, which had issues in the past, hence moving the old middle school to the new middle school. They're going to have to make sure that's upkept to make sure there's no issues with the ground. Um, so it's kind of just a very short and sweet conversation about it, but we really need to consider as a whole, do we really want something, a community center that's going to impact this taxes in the coming years a lot when we're already underwater for the most part. We're already, struggling to pay this, and we're having to add revenues like red light camera revenues where it's $5 million. We're not going to see a penny of that $5 million in this fiscal year. And that's what we budgeted. So um I guess that's my piece on the community center. Like I said, very short and very sweet, but it's something we really have to consider as a community. Do we want it? And I mean, obviously it was approved already, but I just think in future years it is going to be so much on the taxpayers. And that, to be honest, that kind of scares me. As I'm talking, I see questions in the chat as well regarding what is ARPA funds. So ARPA funds are basically COVID relief money that the feds gave uh, states, and the states funneled it down to the municipalities. A lot of nonprofits got COVID funds. They had to be spent in certain ways. So the current administration said, all right, we think the best way for this, for the ARPA funds to be spent is on a community center. And anyone who remembers the previous news articles from 2-3 years ago, it started at, oh, this is going to be a $50 million community center. Then it got whittled down to 30, 20. Now it's at 10 million. And even with some of the plans for the community center, they were going to completely knock down the whole old middle school, both parts, because it's two pieces. Now they're only knocking down one part, but they're keeping another part up and they're gonna fix it up, you know, because it did have some toxicity issues, I guess. So they're going to fix that part up. But so it's changed so many times. It's I don't even know what we're gonna get. To be honest, I was never in favor of the community center. For that reason. I mean, I don't think as a town we can afford it. Certain towns have luxuries, towns that have put themselves in good financial positions, yeah, they can afford it. I don't think at this point we can afford something like that. So that is short and sweet, I would say. If anyone has any questions, please, you know, reach out to me.